Anytime you're doing digital storytelling or technology integration for that matter, you really need to start with the big picture in mind. Any technology that you integrate in your classroom needs to be purposeful, and you don't use technology for the sake of technology, because if so, you're missing the mark for you and for your students. The first thing you need to think about is what standards are you meeting? So think outside of the box a little bit. You could do digital storytelling and keep it personal to the student, or you could do digital storytelling in science and have your students become an atom and they have to write a digital story in the life cycle of an atom or some other element from the periodic table of elements. In social studies, they could do a digital story about one of those huge list of people that we all have each semester in each grade level for our social studies standards. And don't have your students do the same thing. You don't want all of your students doing the same cookie cutter project, because if so, you could just do a worksheet and all do the same worksheet and move on. That's not the purpose for technology integration. There are time for worksheets and some skill and drill practices, but if you're doing true technology integration and true digital storytelling, then that's a time to think outside of the box. One of the things to help you think about your technology integration lessons is the SAMR model. So the SAMR model has 4 basic levels. Some people think about those levels as a ladder where you start at substitution and work your way up to redefinition. Some people think about that as a swimming pool. I personally think that whatever standards you choose kind of depend on where your level of technology integration is on the SAMR model. Some standards are just simply substitution standards, and that's all they'll ever be. So I would think more of it kind of like a swimming pool, because based on your standards, that's where you land. I also really like to think of the SAMR model more so in terms of Starbucks, because I mean, who doesn't like Starbucks, right? In thinking about substitution, it's really the same coffee in a different cup, right? It's the same thing. So it's the same task. You're just using a new technology to accomplish that. So you're still writing, let's say for thinking about digital storytelling, you're still writing a story that the students have to write, but instead of writing it on paper and pencil, you tell them to type it on Google Docs or Microsoft Word. That's still just substitution level. When you get to augmentation level, you're thinking you're improving the task and you're adding a few features. So think about regular coffee versus cold brew or French vanilla. You're adding a few different things, but not really changing the task at all. For modification, you really change the task. It's like regular coffee and salted caramel mocha. So here you're really thinking about adding for your digital story. Instead of just typing up the story, you are adding pictures and you're adding audio or video clips. The top level or the highest level would be redefinition. And that's where we really want to try to see all of our students hit, and all of our lessons at some point hit that level. It's really a new task. Thinking about the pumpkin spice latte. It's not just plain black coffee anymore. It is the pumpkin spice latte. I don't know if you know the difference, but it's a whole new task completely, right? So now you're doing a digital story and the students have written their story. They've added their pictures, they've added their words and their sounds and their maybe sound effects, and they've added video clips, but also now they can actually publish it in an arena where other people can view and comment on their story, maybe relate it to themselves somehow. So you're giving it a whole different task. It's not just writing a story like you started with, that black cup of coffee. I've given you a comparison chart, and the pictures here are linked to the actual web pages where the information came from. I like this chart because it compares you with the Webb's Depth of Knowledge, the TPACK model, the SAMR model, and our trusty Bloom's taxonomy, and I like the comparison there. This is a great chart to have up in your classroom or to have handy when you're doing any of your lesson plans.